it's going to be angle divided by 45.0 f. And then we'll do like fmath floor to int. And if start domain is less than 0, then start domain equals 0. And basically that'll break us up into 8 directions for our starting domains. So how should we determine which way we go first? If we go positive first or negative first? So I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to do this more cleverly, which is not always the best idea after programming for 10 hours. So this will give us the domain. Basically, we get the angle, we subtract 22.5 from it, which will basically take this right here, and then we have 45 degrees of angle. So like this angle is going to be 3, and then this one's going to be 2, and then this one will be 1, or whatever, you know, like remap it however we want. In this case, the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, so to go like that, because we'll go from 0 to 360 degrees. So we want to know if we should go negative or positive. So that's going to be we're going to subtract the current angle from the starting angle of our thing. So yeah, it's going to be flow direction pool. Direction value is going to be the start direction times, I guess it's, yeah, start direction times 45.0 minus 22.5. And we're going to say if angle minus direction value is less than 22.5, like it should be, then we go right, so it'd be like yeah, so I have like go right is false, and then like go right is going to be true. So what we're going to do is we're going to check our first one, so it's going to be like if map dot, yeah, okay, so we're going to int32 cur domain, we have int32 offset, or I guess iteration. So current domain equals start domain. I just need to see what this looks like real quick. Iteration 0, so like yeah, for int I, int32i equals 0, I is less than, we're gonna have, how many jumps? It's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4. I is less than 4. So if I equals 0, else if I is I plus 1 equals 4, else we are going to if map dot space occupied, we're going to do alright, so we're going to test the direction, and the direction is going to be, we need to get the dx and y for the direction. Alright, so we're going to want to like get xy for direction. So I'm like int32 tx and ty for target x and target y. And we'll get xy for direction, and the direction is going to be start domain tx ty. Alright, so this will be void get x for direction. So this will be our int32 domain, and this will be our int32 ref tx int32 ref ty. And maybe I'm just complicating this. Maybe I'm not. But sometimes simple mathematical concepts are not always simple in math. Simple objects, you know, concepts intuitively are not always the easiest thing in math to do. Alright, so we're also going to want get domain for value. Get domain, and it's going to be int32 start and int32 offset. To be positive and negative. Alright, so this will be space occupied tx ty is space is not occupied break. I guess we want like bool can move equals false. Alright, this one is going to be start domain plus 1, 2, 3, 4. So this should be less than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Space occupied can move. Yeah, we'll just, if it's not occupied, can't move is true. Alright, well, it's going to break anyway next time, but let's just try it. So, otherwise, what we're going to do is start domain plus 4. No, we're gonna need to call int32 domain is gonna call get domain, start domain, and we're gonna have an offset of 4. So we're gonna get domain like this. I guess we just want I in here, and it doesn't really matter. We can check positive and negative, and it's not really going to give us any problems. So maybe we should just do an else here and not overcomplicate this too much. So it's going to be like we'll do I and negative I. So when we call get domain, it's going to calculate the domain. So let's see, it's going to be so int32 value equals start plus offset, and if yeah, so it's going to be like while value is greater than 7, value plus equals 7, while value is less than 0, value plus equals 7. So this will be a minus equals here for the greater than. So it'll go around in a circle. And get xy for direction. So we're going to domain. So it's going to be like if, we'll just do a switch on the domain. Alright, so case 0, we're going to say tx equals 1, ty equals 0. Case 1, tx equals 1, ty equals 1. Case 2, tx equals 0, ty equals 1. Case 3, tx equals negative 1, ty equals negative 1. Case 4, tx equals negative 1, ty equals 0. Case 5, tx equals negative 1, ty equals negative 1. Case 6, tx equals 0, ty equals negative 1. In case 7, tx equals 1 and ty equals negative 1. So theoretically this should have it move. So if can move, then we are going to move. So it's going to be mx equals tx, my equals ty. We're going to have map dot m collision map sub mx plus map dot m width times my, and our space occupied is going to return true for off the map, so we'll never be able to move off the map, so we don't have to worry about our array index stuff here. Alright, so we're going to clear our previous position. So I'm going to say that's false, and this collision map is going to be true. So we'll do position history dot add. Is there a shift? That was a convoluted way of saying math sucks. No, it's not that math sucks. It's that reality sucks. Let's see, shift values in T-array, Unreal. Let's see if there's just a nice simple shift method. Well, to hell with it. We're just going to call add, and we're going to do t-pair of int32, int32, and we're going to add in mx and my, and in position history dot move removes the first occurrence of the specified. Yeah, let's just. So whatever, it's not the most efficient thing in the world. Should we remove from our position history anyway? Like, even if we can't move? I mean, theoretically, that means we're not moving, so we should slow down, right? It would. I mean, we're normalizing our direction and all that, but. Let's try not removing it. And just kind of preserve the value that got us to where we are. No. Let's remove it. So we get our color, we have our position history. We can add the same. Well, we should probably have a maximum history or something like that. I don't like. Unreal does. I can't just like throw a nice like poundify or something else here. I really shouldn't. So I should actually just have a max history here for this thing. So let's just say when we're greater than max history, just remove blah, it'll be okay. Let's just do it before we update our thing so we get it correct. So, I mean, I would like to normalize this. But would I like to normalize it? Or do I want to have the value for this actually be this thing clamped to some sort of value? Like the maximum distance, like, you know, the float max length is going to be, you know, max history multiplied by max history times 2. So what I could do is just say that like the direction vector and just do dir divide equal max length. And then, you know, the direction times equals 127.0f. So it go from, you know, whatever value this is to the maximum history, the maximum actual speed of the thing. Multiply by, so it's going to go from 0 to 1, then we multiply by 127, so it should do what it's supposed to. I mean, it should be 128, actually. And we're going to want plus ticks on here. Let's see, the max length is going to be, yeah, it's if mticks is less than max history, then max length is actually going to be the ticks. So that should set our direction and all that better than the other values. Alright, we'll see if that compiles. We might actually be able to run this and have it work, because supposedly we're spawning our particles, we're calling tick on all of our particles. We're not going to kill any particles right now, which is probably an issue. Chance of it working the first time? About nothing. Because we need to remove particles, and of course we have an array where we, or a linked list where we iterate over the particles. So we need to have like a boolean for the tick to remove it and all that. But we should be able to at least tick this thing and see it move. And we've got it debugged, so we should be able to pump the tick function and see stuff do what it's supposed to. Been programming for a very long time here. Looks like what Adam's working on, level assets and cool stuff like that. Not bad. That'll be cool. We get some more baller looking stuff. Cannot convert from flow path map const to blah. Alright, so we need to, you know, dereference this and pass it in as a reference. All the fungus. That's like that that Super Mario Brothers movie. Like, trust the fungus. That movie sucked, but it's amazing because of how bad. Alright, get domain is supposed to return value. Uninitialized local variable DOM used. As far as I see, that's not unused. Like, get domain is set. Shitty movies that are great. Like Minnie with Nicolas Cage. Oh man, there's so many good movies with Nicolas Cage in them. Like, I think my favorite bad Nicolas Cage movie, actually, it's really not my favorite bad one, but I think probably the worst Nicolas Cage movie I ever saw was Season of the Witch. And Season of the Witch was just, like, there was one really funny part where they burned the house down. Like, that was the best thing ever. Like, perfect comedic timing on that bastard. But the rest of that movie was just so awful. It's just like, what the hell? It's like, you know, after the first 20 minutes, like, the director was just like, alright, fuck it. Like, that was one of those movies where we, like, got up to leave, and one of the people who was with us to watch it was just asleep in his chair. So we're just like, dude, it's time to go. And he's like, oh, thank God. So let's see, what we should be able to do here is we should be able to construct our static flow field. Set texture to particles. We should be able to tick. I mean, we're not calling any of this stuff, are we? Like, what we should be doing here with this blueprint is when we call tick flow field, we need to call tick. Like, we call tick and we call set texture to particles. Okay, that's actually correct. So set texture to particles is going to fill color with particles and do all that. We need to call tick, and then we need to call like this fill color. So we need like this right particles thing to be called somewhere, which this tick method here. Let's see, when we call tick on the map, we're not calling tick on the map, are we? Yeah, like tick here needs to call mmap.tick. And it's supposed to pass in the flow field, so we'll just do star this. And we're going to want another function here for u calculated flow field, and we want to call tick and draw. So we want to call mmap. We want to call tick, and then we want to call mmap.write particles, and we want the we want to like that. And why don't we have ticks? So we're just going to do like, you know, for int 32 I equals 0, I is less than ticks plus I tick, and do that. And then tick and draw should be something that we can call from blueprint land. And we should be able to mess with it. It'll take you several days. Yeah, that sounds sounds like a lot of Christopher Walken. Yeah, it's interesting how not coding for a few days, and you get back to coding, you're just like, your brain is much more set up to actually start doing work. Because it's like coding every day there. Or maybe it's just I'm not running into a bunch of frustrating crap today. Like, we're running into a lot of, simple crap that's broken, but we're able to fix it. Versus the last, like, couple streams where it's just been, like, it's just, getting that splinter in my fingernail was preferable to dealing with the math that I was messing around with. I mean, of all things, last time it was the frickin' texture compression was causing the artifacts on the texture. And I was just like, God, I just didn't even think about that. Like, that's not something that I usually think about. It's like, oh, well, the texture's screwed up because of the compression artifacts on it. Like, I was writing colors directly, Jesus. Well, you are probably an actual human being and actually have a conscience versus me where I just kind of exist. I mean, being a sociopath has its benefits. Let's just throw that out there. Tick and draw. There we go. We're gonna tick once. Excellent. So this thing will need to be initialized. So we need to call construct static flow field, and then we need to do tick flow field. Set texture to paths, so the paths are there. Set texture to particles. Tick. Ooh, that's interesting. There we go. We're starting to do things. Let's call tick, tick, tick. I'm not seeing anything move. Why aren't you moving? I should see particles. That's a bad mixture. Yeah, workaholic and a nagging conscience. That was pretty much one of the things. Like, my tech director actually had to inform security to not let me in the building one time because he was like, take a vacation. I was just like, no. And he's like, it wasn't because like I wasn't getting work done or something. It was just I had been doing so much work. He's just like, you need to take a day off. You have had max PTO hours for like forever. And he's like, don't make me call security. And I was like, you're not going to call security. And he's like, all right, well, you're taking tomorrow off. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm working on this because I want to. And he's like, nope. Security isn't going to let you in. Like, you son of a bitch. That was a fun place to work. Like, when I was working there, I only took one vacation in like 2 years for a week. And it was really funny because I had to cut it short and come back. Because, like, as soon as I was gone, somebody submitted this like horrible bug where what they did was they were trying to add it so in Dragon Age Legends it would populate your friend bar, so like your bar of friends on the bottom, which had all their heroes on it. It wanted to update all the heroes on that bar when you like logged in and everything. So what it would do is for every hero that you had, for every friend you had to play Dragon Age Legends, it would read the database, grab their hero, and then save it so that you could read that. And of course, the guy put a for loop around this, so it ended up calling for every single friend you had. It ended up calling the database 6 times and waiting for a round trip on that, right? So the database call time was about 0 to 1 milliseconds or something for that, which doesn't seem like a big deal, right? 0 milliseconds is not a huge issue, but that many database calls is also a gigantic problem, just in terms of performance. But But the thing is, you got to remember, people on Facebook who play Facebook games, there are people who have thousands of friends, like multiple thousands of friends, who also play the same game. Like these people exist, and there are enough of them that every like 2 hours, one of these people would log in and time out a server. Like the server would be sitting there doing literally like waiting for 2,000 or 20,000 database calls in a row, and you're like, 1 millisecond times 20,000. Let's just do the quick calculation for that. That's going to be 1 millisecond multiplied by 20,000, right? 20,000 milliseconds. We're looking at what, 20 seconds? No, that's 20,000 divided by 1,000. Anyway, yeah, 20,000 is just 20 seconds, but some of the database calls when they're fast are like sub-millisecond or something, right? That'd be like a cache. But some of these people, of course, these Facebook friends that they were loading, these people would have large things. So, we'd have like, 10 or 15 milliseconds. So, like, let's just say somebody's got like 3,000 friends, and we're going to call this 6 times for every single friend, and it's going to take an average of 20 milliseconds to do this. So it's going to take 6 minutes for our server to actually complete this. So the server locked up for 6 minutes. And of course, you log into this game, right? And you're watching the screen. You're wanting to play this game. You have 3,000 friends who play this game. You need to log in. Damn it! Like, you do this every day. In fact, you do this multiple times per day because your life is playing Facebook games. And the game doesn't load, right? This is a problem. You're sitting there for 30 seconds and this thing isn't finished. It's just a little spinner with a progress icon. What do? You refresh the page, right? And then you get frustrated and you refresh the page again. And every single time you refresh the page, you take a server out of the server pool completely for 6 minutes. So, of course, the dude's sitting there hitting F5 and just like takes down the entire server fleet, one server at a time. And so this code wasn't even actually in the game. Like, he took down all the server, like the guy who wrote the feature here, actually, it was a test for some debugging stuff. Like, they wanted to try out the friend bar stuff, but they decided not to put it in there. But the guy didn't remove the code. So he was just like doing some test stuff to figure out like if they wanted the friend bar to look like this. And in the end they said no. So he literally just pushed test code out there that blew up everything. And nobody on site, we're talking about a team of like 40 engineers, etc. Nobody on site knew how to fix it. And they couldn't fix it for like 4 work days, right? And this is an online game. So the online game was down for like 4 days. And so like I had taken a whole week vacation. So on the Friday, like I get this call and it's like the vice president and he's like, "Hey, can you pull up Skype and can you join this room?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." It's like 9 a.m. I'm like crashed at some college friends' houses and like in my boxer shorts after like probably drinking all night with a bunch of people and having fun because it's vacation and I'm hanging out with people from college who are still either in college or trying to find jobs. So, nobody's doing anything productive. And I open, Skype and go to the chat room and it's literally the entire studio on the other side. Like there are 40 people all staring at this Skype screen. And I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, damn, I'm glad the camera's not pointed down because I'm not presentable at the moment. And they're like, we need your help. It's like, what the hell am I supposed to do from Seattle, you guys? Like, this isn't gonna work. I have no access to any tools. I don't have like, the VPN stuff set up here. I don't even have my real computer here. So, I don't know. Vice President dude's like, you need to come down here and help us fix this. So I did. So I got down there. I fixed the problem in 10 minutes. Like, I literally sat down. I was like, okay, what's going on? I popped open some of the data dashboards and was like, okay, database call times are off the goddamn charts. Let's track this down. Okay, database call times are for friend read. Okay, let's see where friend read is called in the database. Okay, it's called in these 4 places. Let's take a look. Oh my god, what the hell is this? Like 4 I equals 0, I is less than 6. This seems new. Yeah, this is being called 2 million times. Okay, that's your problem. Okay, this commit was by this person. Go over to their desk. What the fuck are you doing? And there you go. Solved. And I was like, well, you know, I drove 13 hours back for this. I'm real happy with you guys for having stuck up on your part of the bargain, being really good team members. Let's just say after some of those sorts of events, because I was actually like the junior engineer on that platform team. Let's just say after about 6 months of that crap, I got my own team. Alright, so let's see what's going on in this tick function for this thing. So we have the spawn particles and move particles. So let's see what the tick does. Wait, we didn't call it? So we're calling tick with the map, which is supposed to call flow map path tick. So we calling, did that get optimized out and we just have like spawn particles and move particles? That's totally something that could happen. Alright, so tick is getting called. So our angle is alright, so start domain is -1. mx, my, dx, dy. Yeah. So there's all sorts of random story shenanigans that have gone on. So tx and ty. Space occupied for like 0, 0. So get xy for direction. Oh yeah, we're gonna need to add in our values here for everything. We're not testing the correct stuff. Let's just double check here. Info log angle is %f and domain is %d. So we get angle and start domain. And go right is %d. Go right. Yeah, we did a bunch of crazy stuff. I really liked working at that studio. One of the times we were trying to do some performance testing stuff, and I had never made like a real website thing before. So I got like all this data graphed out and used Google Graphs and everything else. And I was like super bored over the weekend after doing this. So I had all these like server graphs. You could see like every database call and you know how all the service calls on the server worked and how much time you know a tick loop worked. You know how many messages per second. So what I did was I made the whole site like as if it was made in 1996. So I put like a whole bunch of you know like the Matrix backgrounds on it and stuff like that. every single graph, like the graphs had all the right data and it was all cool like that, but every single graph had like Dragon Ball Z gifs all over it from that stuff. So it was like a whole bunch of really dumb crap all over the site. And I had it play a shitty Linkin Park MIDI whenever it loaded up. And I sent the email out to the studio saying like, hey, you guys should check out this this super awesome site I made. And what would happen is you'd be listening around the studio, and all day people would open up that site, and you'd hear like this like really crappy like MIDI of Crawling in My Skin start to play from some corner of the room, and then somebody like freak out and like try to close it and like stop playing music out loud. Alright, so it looks like our angles are in radians and not in degrees. So we should, maybe I even put that in the documentation. So this is radians. Yeah, there was also one time I had to make a... Damn, look at this. This thing is going on forever. There's one time I had to... Alright, so what is... I'd like a degrees to radians function on here. So let's just make one. Is there an fmath pi? Yeah. Let's just assume there does exist an fmath pi. It's going to be map utils, angle equals degrees to radians, angle. Yeah, there was one time I had to show off a build system, which is really just, a glorified shell script that builds a whole bunch of stuff. And it was like this build and deploy thing where it would build like all the game and generate all the assets and cook everything together and do all the things for our game. And I've been working on it for like all week, and usually on Fridays you would have like the normal stand-up or whatever at the end of the day, and people would show off all the cool things. So I decided I was going to show off my build script. But the thing is, build scripts are boring because they're stupid and they're just they're just text. It's just a wall of crap. It's like building %finished 1, %finished 2. Like, there's nothing interesting there, right? So all I did was like I found a whole bunch of ASCII art from all over the internet and like threw it in the build script in random locations. and stuff like that. So as the build went by, you'd see like, you know, somebody kicking, you know, the scene in 300 was somebody getting kicked off the ledge and stuff like that. And it took like 10 minutes to do the build. Not 10 minutes, more like, you know, 5 or less minutes. And so we gathered like, you know, 30 people around my monitor where I had this thing, and I was like, I hit the build, and it would like build the thing and then deploy to the test server. And you know, I like hype this up. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. We can build the game, and you know, this is the most boring shit ever. And all this ASCII art flies by, and people laugh at it and crap like that. It's actually entertaining somehow, because I'm like explaining what's happening. I'm like, oh man, well check this out. So now it's cooking the assets. Cooking the assets means it does all this. So I'm like narrating this build script, and it just, from the outside, from somebody like watching this, it'd be like an episode of Silicon Valley. It'd be like people are just talking a bunch of technical crap that means nothing. But they're somehow interested in it, and it makes sense to them. So it's like, oh man, it must be interesting. Then you're just like, what the hell are they talking about? So, and that's probably like the engineers in the circle like actually knew what was going on. So they're like, oh man, that's actually kind of cool. And the artists are just like, why the hell do I give a damn about this? But anyway, everybody had to watch this, and to sum it all, like cap it all off, like the build failed. like built all this crap, and then at the end it's like failure. It was just like, yeah. Yeah, that didn't work worth a damn. It's like, good job, you've been working on this build system and all these scripts all week, and it's all garbage. Why are we calling tick? Well, at least looks like we're getting our angles stuff proper. Alright, let's just stop printing out all that garbage real quick. Let's actually do like a random value. So if like fmath, like random float from like 0 to, you know, I guess random int range. 0 to 1000 equals 0, then we'll print this thing out, otherwise we won't. That'll let us kind of debug stuff without crapping up everything. I don't know, that's the sort of stuff that happens in game studios, which is why I choose to work in game studios and do game stuff as opposed to other things, even though you could probably make more money working at Facebook or Google or something else as an engineer. Now what we need to do is we need to change that calculate thing, because we're doing single ticks. It should be fine. We're only ticking it once, right? How many ticks is it? Discover flow objects. Calculate paths. Yeah, we do have simulation ticks, and it is actually ticking it for all of them. So let's see what we actually passed in for sim ticks. On calculate static flow field, we're passing in 100 ticks. Let's just pass in 1 tick. Save that out. Let's do our calculate static flow field, which should do 1 tick. Let's tick our flow field. I mean, it's doing something, right? It's doing something. I'm not really sure what it's doing though. It's just not moving in the right direction. Yeah, that's all trash. That's all trashed here. Like, just look at that garbage. That's garbage. Well, it looks at least like our colors are drawing properly. We just don't have our motion right for these things. So, just close it down. And I'm going to be right back.